Okay, well, welcome everyone. We're gonna have some fun today. We're going to be talking about some things that are kind of, I guess, if this is if you've been in Zango for 3 days, this is probably a little above your head. Um, and we're gonna tell the truth today and do some training on some things that are just the real deal. And so, if you're brand new, you probably won't be able to relate to a lot of this stuff, but think into the future as you grow and have a team that's forming. This is going to apply to you as well in the future. Some of these things are just universal good business practices we're going to talk about today. And on the invitation, we were going to originally do something I call my launch plan training in combination with this win back program. But as we were developing the thoughts and ideas about this win back program, we realized there was just too much here to cover both subjects at once. So we're basically going to focus on the win back program today, and we'll save the launch training for another day, just because I didn't want to do either of them injustice by not covering them. So we got some very unique and different things we're going to do today. I have some of my team members on the phone today that actually came up with this concept, and they actually taught me about it after the fact. And one of the benefits of this business is uh, as you become a leader, people in your team come in that are smarter and better than you, and you get to look good and have a big title while they do all the smart and interesting creative work. And that's just kind of the way it goes, and that's part of the benefit of what we do and how we do it. So if you're newer to Zango, and one of the things that's I think important to recap because of the timing of what's going on here has to do with something I call and Art did a fantastic webinar last weekend. If you didn't hear it, talking about how to incorporate some of the new things that are coming into the Zango story. But uh, the amazing part of the Zango story so far is that in our first 5 years, uh, he called it phase one, and I think that's a great way to talk about this. Is we've got an impeccable track record and an amazing story what happened in the first 5 years. But the beauty of it is we're sitting here today with just the beginning, but it's a very unique combination of stability, but all the growth is still ahead of us. And that's what phase two is going to bring. And phase two, is a lot of you guys have already heard, we have 365 whole food nutrition, supplements, and Glimpse intuitive skincare, and our company that we've known to love as the Mangosteen Creator is going to quickly use that as a platform to move into dominating the wellness category, and certainly maintaining their position as the preeminent company in the idea of mangosteen supplements in the world as we move, which is a very exciting thing in a lot of ways, and that's not what we're covering today on the call, but just take what we're going to talk about today, and I always, when I do meetings, I often tell people, I say, hey, if Zango's not for you, that's fine. The worst thing you could do is say yes when you mean no. But if it is for you, be serious about it and take it seriously, because you wouldn't want to be this close to what's happening here and miss it. It would be a shame to be this close to the fire and not ever feel the heat. Because what we have in front of us today and what we're about to see, and I call this the golden age of Zango, what's about to come. This next 2, 3, 4, 5 year period between the international expansion opportunities, the foundation now that we have to operate from domestically and internationally, as well as the product lines. And the companies more sophisticated, the leaders in the field are more sophisticated, the tools and the websites and the trainings and everything are better now than they were. And this isn't, I used to have to walk uphill both ways with bare feet in snow kind of story, but truly, obviously, if the company's only 5 years old, it was obviously a different game in the first 2 to 3 years than it has been in the last 12 to 18 months. Certainly, things are changing, and the next phase is going to be fantastic. So the point is don't miss it, right? You don't want to be here and not really be here. So I wanted to give you a little. It's always nice to know who the strange voice on the phone is. So here's a picture of my family. I've got 4 little boys, a little girl there, and my wife Heidi and I have been married 10 years this summer, and we're about to embark on. We're finishing packing after I get off the phone, actually, because we are 200 Ks in Zango, and we're getting our 200K trip to Venice next week, and just the two of us. All the kids are staying with Grandma and Grandpa, and we're escaping and having some fun. So Zango's completely changed our life, totally taken us from one world to another in the course of 3 years. This is our 37th month in the business, and it's just been um, one crazy ride, that's for sure. And but it's taken work, right? And what we're going to talk about today is some techniques of work that work smart, not just work hard. This is another part of my family. This is a portion of the leadership of our team. We had a leadership retreat this winter, and just thought I'd throw that in there for fun. We work very closely together. We have a lot of fun. I just got a team. I just love my team, and we got some of my best friends in the world are now people that I met through this business, and that's kind of one of the side benefits to what we do is that we end up getting some fantastic people into our circle of influence in our lives as a part of how we do this. And we're going to hear from a couple of those in a minute here. But just to preface this, listen to what we're going to talk about today as a teacher and a student. Listen for your sake, but listen from the standpoint of how could you incorporate this and teach it? Obviously, we're in a teaching business as much as we are in a sponsoring business or a selling business. Obviously for duplication to effect, someone has to be taught something. So that's kind of another way you want to listen through this, is if it's not really necessarily new for you, maybe there's a way it's being talked about that could help you explain it in a new way so someone else gets it. So we have a program that was created by a couple members of my team, and there's some leaders that live close by to me here, Tom Plowman and Steve Hammersing, and you guys are both on the phone and you're good to go with the slides now?
You bet.
All right, awesome. Well, these guys have been, I'll let them tell their story in a minute, but they were recently stuck in what a lot of people refer to as the 5K dip. The major sticking point in Zango is between 5K and 20K. It seems like once you break over 20K with some good 5Ks on your side, you kind of are over the hill a little bit, and it starts to pick up speed, and it's not you rolling the snowball up the hill, and you start to feel like your team is pushing you as much as you're pulling them. And so they came up with a strategy here, and they call it the Win Them Back campaign. And so why don't I just, before we get into this, I wanted to kind of preface this, because what it has to do with is customer service, and a lot of you guys are on this call. You've heard Art and Terry, Manville. They've probably trained more often than anyone else, and probably the best training I've ever heard in Zango as far as follow-up goes. So they're kind of the champions of follow-up, and this has to do with follow-up, but it's a little bit different, a different perspective on it, but it's from the same realm. And I guess in any business, a business can stop growing the way you want it from time to time, or everyone gets hungry for kind of a new idea or strategy to make something work. And this might be something that might be of value considering the phase we're about to move into. This has to do with reconnecting with people that are already in your network, and considering we have a new story to tell, new products to offer, and a whole new game to play, and an economy that's tanking and making people look over their shoulder, and $4 a gallon of gas, and everything seems to be crashing around us. And then here we are with this company that's just got this rainbow effect to it that people can't hardly get their head around, and the rest of the world storm clouds and doom and gloom. So good time to reconnect with who you already have in your group, obviously. And an excellent strategy for inspiring customers to start talking to their friends is to go beyond your customers' expectations of service, right? People like people who help them. That's just kind of a universal thing. And I was reading this book that I highly recommend called Guerrilla Multi-Level Marketing, and it's out there in Amazon and different places you can order it, networkingtools.com. Some really great little ideas in it. It's broken down into different chapters. And they were talking about follow-up, and one of the statistics that they indicate in there from our industry is that by retaining just 5% more customers, you can increase your compensation from 25 to as much as 125%, depending on how your compensation plan works. Which obviously that's part of the game we play, right? We do this so we can get paid. And one survey revealed that customers stop buying not because they're unhappy, but simply because they feel unappreciated and ignored. So, I guess in anything, earning trust takes earning people's trust takes time, and following up and staying in communication makes us familiar. And if the more familiar we are, the more confidence and the more level of business people are going to do with us. And I guess when it comes down to the real brass tacks of the issue is most people are just so busy with their day-to-day issues that our marketing, communication, and the things we say to get people's attention one day will be forgotten soon because the busyness of life just crowds in on things. And so the more time that lapses after our initial contact and our initial message, the less important our message becomes. So long-term follow-up long after the initial spurt is a really big deal, and that's kind of what we're talking about today. So Steve and Tom, I'll let you guys kind of introduce your story and how you kind of came to the part where you decided to come up with this campaign, and then we'll kind of roll into what the campaign actually was. So why don't you guys take it from here for a little bit?
Certainly. This is Tom, and I got involved with Zango a little over a year and a half ago with my wife Pam, and we initially just got involved for the juice, the health benefits, and I've been a business owner for 30-some years, conventional businesses, so it wasn't something I really got involved in from a business sense, but I was really enjoying the benefits of the juice, and probably for the first year and a half, that's why I was involved. So that's kind of my story.
And then at that time, about a year and a half ago, Tom and Pam actually came to us with the juice, and my wife was seriously ill, and we saw some fantastic results from Lori drinking Zango. So how did we start? We were drinkers, and Tom and Pam, were people that drank Zango as well. So what were we in the beginning, and up until probably a month, 6 weeks ago, we were drinkers who shared our experience with our family, our friends, and became drinkers of Zango, recruiting drinkers of Zango, and that's the type of business that fortunately or unfortunately that we were building at that time, and we were stuck in, as Eric said, what we referred to it as the 5K dip, and we weren't sure how to get out. And one of the big messages that we found was that how do you follow up on business with drinkers if we never talked about it? And one of the things Tom, that we had initiated about 6 months ago to hold one another accountable for our respective businesses was we hold Saturday morning meetings at our house where the Plowmans and us get together and discuss our team and growth and such. Well, what we discovered was that we were instilling our hopes and dreams into people rather than having them tell us our hopes and dreams. And we didn't know, so we kept spinning our wheels over the same people over and over and over again, not really knowing what they wanted.
Correct. What was happening is we would spend the first 30 to 45 minutes of our Saturday morning rehashing the same old things. Did you call this person? How come he didn't respond? He's not showing up at the meeting. And after a while, we realized it was the same story and nothing was happening. We kept wanting to believe that these people were going to turn into a magic recruiter or something. We had faith in them, but we needed to find that out because it wasn't happening. So that's where we kind of decided we have to come up with a program to sort through the people that we have and determine on where they're at. So that's kind of where we came up with the Win Them Back program.
Well, we'll kind of go into this, and then obviously a lot of things will come out as we're going through the slides because there's more details will come as we go. So I'll just go ahead to the first one here.
All right.
So you guys had some obviously set objectives of what you're trying to accomplish with this. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
Correct. What we were trying to do is, go through our existing team members. In the beginning, it was easy to do, when we only had 20, 30 people. But now we had gotten over the 300 mark, going on to 400, and it gets tougher as you're trying to revisit each one of those people and trying to figure out where they're at. So we needed to have our team members understand the values and opportunities of the Zango business, and so we came up with a game plan and basically brainstormed for a couple weekends on it, and we needed to clarify the stage that each distributor was at, and really find out if they were on board or not, because we kept wanting to believe that everybody was on board. And obviously that's not the case, and we started to realize that. So we needed to identify whether they were builders or drinkers or motivated drinkers, people that were on the verge of going into builders. And also we had to find out who the non-active people were, so that we weren't wasting or spending our energy, because everyone has a certain amount of energy to give. And we were finding that we were spending too much of our energy kind of beating a dead horse, so to speak, and we needed to find the true people to devote our energy to. So that's kind of what was the basis behind the program. So this cleansing, as we ended up calling it, for us was going to establish really where we're going to focus, which people we're going to put our energy into, and we were just kind of made a game plan. This is something we were going to do on an annual basis. And what that helps us with is that as the year progresses after this, we don't have to keep revisiting that same lost energy, because we know we're going to be doing this again down the road. And we'll get into that as we go on how that works, but it actually ended up being a tremendous program. What we needed to do is come up with a kind of a mission statement and portray that Zango was a serious business, and we had to give a program to the group leaders to give them the vehicle to go forward with their business, and while at the same time preserving relationships. And what we meant by that is we all know, everybody brings in friends and family into their Zango business along the way, but what happens is both sides get a little bit uncomfortable at times, because you want somebody to treat it like a business, but you don't know how to, you don't want to destroy a relationship, and you never really know how to approach them. And on the same hand, you may have a cousin in it who's perfectly content with drinking the juice, and they're starting to get a little sick of you constantly trying to get them in the business. So by sorting all of this, it makes all your relationships better, and also tells you who to work on as a business relationship. So that's kind of what happened with our mission statement and what was behind that.
I think one of the things that kind of eats away at people with this a little bit is they're not quite sure, like you guys said, you're not quite sure who you have on your team. But people, when they're new, if they're new to the industry and they're new to Zango, they don't know how to draw lines between who's who. And I think the brilliance of what you guys did is you created a system that you didn't have to make that choice. Just like how one of the mistakes you guys said you made is you placed your dreams and ambitions and goals on other people, and then wondered why they weren't getting out of bed early in the morning to go to work for that, because right. We weren't quite sure. Well, another way is I don't ever want to make the choice for someone else or whether or not Zango is for them as a business or a product. That's got to be up to them, because I don't want to own that kind of decision. This is way too big, for me to carry the weight of making a wrong choice for someone else. But so what you guys did is basically created a way that they could tell you who they are, and they don't have to stay the way. They reserve the right to change who they are in the realm of a definition, that you're giving here. But you guys pretty much said, okay, we'll let you pick, and then the monkey's off your back. I think one of the things that bothered me for a long time in the business was that I had a hard time letting people behind. I could believe in people, and I wanted people to go there, and I could see their potential in them. And I think that's natural for people who take a leadership role in this business, because I think you have to have a strong belief in people and be able to see people's potential as a part of that role. But I think it can bite you too, because you can apply it to the wrong people for too long, and then it saps your energy, like you're saying, is that you need to know where to pour your energy into.
That's right. Yeah, and for so long, and I think it's true with a lot of people, is, you get into the Zango business and you start developing this group and everything's happy, kind of a patty cake social club, and everybody wants to stay happy, but nothing's happening because of that. And if you look at a conventional business, sometimes you have to make decisions that are uncomfortable, or maybe say something that it may ruffle their feathers a little bit. But if you're going to grow as a business, we were finding out we had to start treating it like a business. So it is a real business, and so we decided we needed to move forward and grow and develop some leadership on our own part.
One of the things you said too, Tom, is that before we were getting started in Zango, now we're getting started in the business, and there is a clear differentiation between the two.
Absolutely, because I think when you first get into it and you start learning about it, we're involved with this hugely successful company. We bought our membership. You buy your DVDs and study on that. You go to a few events and you see successful people on stage. And you think to yourself, well, that's what I'm part of. And then you sit and wait for it to happen. And then you get frustrated because it's not happening. And I think too often we all find ourselves waiting for it to happen instead of making it happen. And I think we just made the conscious decision. We've got something in front of us. Now we have to figure out a way to make it happen.
I think what you just said there is absolutely huge, is that people, and I think sometimes I can think back to periods of time. Luckily, I didn't stay there for long, but there were certainly periods of time where you just, the energy and the nature of the company and the growth and everything. Yeah, it almost fakes you out and lulls you into thinking that it's happening for you just because you have an ID number and you're there and you're wearing orange.
Correct.
And that's not necessarily the case. And one of the phrases I repeated to myself in the beginning when I was up against the wall and I had to build this fast, as I said, wishing upon a star only makes your dreams come true in the movies. That doesn't happen in real life. It takes real life, gut level, hard work, grind it out, do what you got to do in anything in life that's real and valuable and legal and moral to have success. And certainly this is no different. It's just that a lot of times, and I think this is a good call from the standpoint of, this is called the truth, right? I mean, this is, certainly not necessarily everyone has to deal with this, but, when you're saying people have the ability to switch from a drinker to a builder, the three of us on the phone were drinkers. We ordered the product, had absolutely no interest in the business for 11 months before we decided to engage in the business. And then, 5 months later, after engaging in the business, we were premiers. I don't ever count anyone out that they could make the switch, because, hey, life happens and people suddenly become ready. But all you're saying is that if you're not ready now, we're not going to sit around and kid ourselves that there's something they're not, and it's not like we're not allowing them the right to join us in the game later, right?
That's right.
The door is always open. It's a matter of, are you ready to take that step through the door? And there are leaders on the other side of the door that are willing to work with you and take you to that next level.
So, and I think one of the things you became okay with here was admitting that there is a door, and if you either go through it or don't go through it, but we can't just have happy thoughts that something is.
Correct. Yeah, just because you have a membership and an ID number and you're part of something successful doesn't mean you're automatically successful.
Well, and just as a quick, our group, maybe compared to some people on the call, we've historically for the first 3 years have been very, very product first. Oh, by the way, there's a business. Almost to a detriment. Obviously, things happened. We've had success, but now we're trying to find our balance in the middle of all that. And so that's an important point to put out there for people who have had more of a business focus all along, or maybe you've come from an upline who's trained you on this stuff already. Then just realize the fact that there's people coming in your group who are probably going to come in product first that might wake up to the business later, but because they came in product first, that's probably the slant they're always going to take, and we have to teach them and coach them and show them that you need to switch. You need to jump out of the product box into the business box personally. Do the business. You can't just stay in the product box. I think one of the mistakes I saw being duplicated in our group is we would beat around the bush about the business with juice drinkers, hoping for a miracle. And historically, it hasn't happened. It's been business-minded people that have done it. So you guys created some tangible things to do. I'll go to the next slide here. You called it your postcard blitz, and why don't you tell us a little bit about what this was meant to do and how it worked?
Sure. Thanks, Eric. This is Steve. First, I want to thank Pam Flanagan, Tom's wife. Pam was the one that put together the postcards, and what we have here is really a three-phase plan. First, there were two different types of postcards that we came up with, and it was pretty easy to differentiate. It was one for the non-active members, which we see up here first, and pretty much all it says is you've got their name, when they joined. The good news is you have this many members on your team, but the sad news is that you're no longer drinking Zango. Yeah. Also within there, it tells them that they're to expect a follow-up call, and we have an area where we would put a note down to this person. It might be something as simple as, there's this much volume sitting there. This could mean XYZ number of dollars for you in income if you choose to go that route. But they knew that we were going to follow up with them. And also on there, it showed when we were going to be having our meeting. And all of this took place over the period of 10 days to 2 weeks from start to finish.
Steve, I want to just say something quick. This was largely applied to an area of your group that you had streamlined. We've built both ways. This isn't a call to get into one way or the other, but this is probably something, if you've been streamlining for a while, or if you've got areas of streamlining where it could really have some additional impact, because you guys were mentioning how you would put in there, oh, by the way, the amount of money you could be making is, and that would create all kinds of interesting conversations later.
Correct.
Mm-hmm. The second card that we utilized was basically a copy of the second. The only difference is we added your current volume is on there, and within that, we thank them for their efforts. And again, same type of message, but to get this out to all of our people, and like Tom said, we had between 300 and 400 people, so it was a big undertaking for us to take. So we sent invitations out to our known builders within our team, invited them over to the Plowmans. Over the course of 2 evenings, we got through getting all of the postcards out to everybody. Now this was followed by follow-up calls to each and every person that received postcards, and these were done on days 3 and 4 following the postcards. And again, this was another time where the builders were invited over to the house. The calls were done between 6:30 and 8:30 at night, and it ended up being there were 4 people that got through 300 calls in those 2 nights. And throughout those calls, if they didn't answer, we left a message. This was their checkup, their time to share with us some of their thoughts, or just strictly an invitation to the meeting that was coming up.
So you guys had, so you left messages where you couldn't get a hold of them, and you just moved on. You just wanted to get through all 300 of these in that short period of time, right?
Exactly. It was short, to the point. If they wanted to get into, a long, drawn-out conversation, we let them know that, hey, we've got the meeting coming up, and we'll get into that in a bit, but we can talk then. Some of them, we did spend some time and discuss some opportunities. But boy, during the call, uncovered all kinds of wonderful things. and that was a truly uplifting experience, and we and a motivator for what we had undertaken.
So then we had one of the things we do here in Wisconsin, we do a lot of local events, and obviously you guys took advantage of some of that and used that as part of your springboard. And other things could be done too. We'll get into that, but so part of the crux of it was there was a deadline, there was an event, and one of the phrases that's common in this industry is, if you want to win big here, use events and build from one event to the next to the next. So this phone call was an event. The postcard was an event. These are all points of contact, points of communication, points of building relationship. As vague as it might be in the beginning, it's at least something to show that you care. We live in a world where people are quickly forgotten as customers, and it doesn't take much to create a slight edge in your favor when it comes to people connecting with you and the team. And you guys are going to share some stories in a little bit of some things that they're pretty surprising what you found just by doing something that's fairly simple here as far as the actual task itself. So go ahead.
You touched on something that's so true and so important. When you talk with people, always schedule that next contact. And I think, as everyone can see, it went from step 1 to step 2, step 3, and just continued. And it was imperative that we scheduled within 1 week of the call some type of an event. And what we did was we scheduled 2 different events were scheduled to give the people, options for an opportunity to attend. This took away excuses, basically. And what the event consisted of was a Zango overview, followed by a comp plan training. Now, these types of events, knowing that everyone, on the call, isn't from, the Wisconsin group where we tend to hold meetings at hotels. There's a lot of different venues to do these. It can be on a conference call, a webinar, a coffee shop, a whole meeting. So whatever type of venue fits, utilize it. But the important message is, that to follow the steps, have it planned out, and working all the way through. It worked out great for us.
So you guys tell us a little bit about some of the stories that happened, and after you got into this process, you guys just had some great insights and revelations of what happened that probably are going to relate to a lot of people here.
Yeah, I think first off, the most common reaction was how surprised people were at their volume and how many people they had in their group. So obviously, a lot of people don't follow their website or whatever, and for whatever reason. But I was very surprised at the amount of people that, referenced the postcard and said, well, I see that I have this many people and there's this much volume under me. Tell me what that means. Tell me what that means to me and what can I do to take advantage of it. So that was probably the number one comeback on the postcard. And then just by calling and visiting everybody, first of all, the postcard kind of broke the ice because they were expecting the call, of course. So it wasn't like you were calling out of the blue and then they put a wall up or anything. So they were ready. Oh yeah. We would start the call by saying, I'm just following up on the postcards that were sent out, and right away the response was, oh yes, I received the postcard. So then you were into the conversation easier, and then just struck up a small conversation. Found out a little bit about them, how they like the juice, asked a few questions. Had a lot of great feedback. I had one instance where we had a gentleman who was from a group that had started when we first started a year and a half ago, but his upline had dropped out. So he was left kind of stranded, and for the last year and a half, he's never missed an ADP. And so I made, of course we had notes for everyone, and I made reference to that. And I said, I've noticed that you've always gotten your juice. He said, I won't go a day without it. He said, I think everybody should be drinking this. So now I knew I had a live one here. And, he thanked me for calling. And I asked him if he'd be interested in the business side. He says, I don't have a clue on what to do with the business with this. All I know is the juice works. And so I set up a meeting for him. We're going to be getting together, and Coincidentally, he owns 3 businesses already, so he's an entrepreneurial-minded person. And I mean, how great is that to have for a prospective builder? And I have no doubt that he will turn into a great builder and leader for us. And it will all became because of this postcard campaign. So that's kind of a story I had.
And I mean, God, there's story upon story, but some of them just really, really stick out. And the one that sticks out for me is called up a distributor who I happened to actually see in the local newspaper, and she was recognized as being a young entrepreneur, and called her up and talked to her about the fact that I noticed that she had ordered intermittently, but it would be larger amounts. It'd be a $400 order, then a $200, then a $300 order, but she wasn't consistent with it. Well, I asked her if she knew that there was a great business opportunity here as well, and she said, "No, Steve, I am very interested in talking about this," and she was very excited. Well, to make a long story even longer, as they say, the young gal was originally from Laos, and her last 2 years that she lived in Laos, when she was 13 and 14 years old, she lived in the jungle to escape from the government and to try and get out of the country and to get to America to reach for her dreams. And she made it to the States. She's been here for 15 years. She's tried 3 other multi-level marketing companies that didn't work for her. When I got together with her and sat down and showed her the business opportunity, I mean, it brought a tear to my eye to hear her say, "Steve, this is the dream that I've been looking for." And it reminded me of Joe Morton when he said, "It is safe to dream again." Here's someone who sees.
Steve, you brought up something there I wanted to get into for a second.
Yeah.
I think we carry a weight of responsibility when it comes to Zango, probably bigger than we realize sometimes. I think, well, we'll come back to the business side, but just think of the product side for a minute. Steve, or Tom, you're talking about, connecting with some of these people, and this guy gets on the phone. He says, "I think everyone should be drinking this stuff."
Right.
Okay. Now, anyone who's on the call, and if you've got a couple hundred people in your group, you know that a large majority of that makes up everyone's check in Zango is people who love our product. We have an amazing product, and people just love it, and they stay on it. But here's the thing, and if you're in my group, you've heard me whine about this before, because I just can't quite get my head around why this is. It's a part of human nature. It just doesn't click with me. But, okay, if you take 1,000 drinkers in Zango, those 1,000 drinkers, they have a list of people who desperately need our product. And they've been ordering it for a year or two, and dang, oh man, Zango's, yeah, great, I love it, I wouldn't go without it, don't take it away from me, hate to run out. And yet, so here's the scenario. Either they have never been encouraged to think outside of themselves, they aren't willing to think outside of themselves, or they wouldn't mind sharing it if they had any clue how. But because of the fear factor of, I don't know what to say, heck, for that matter, if they're interested, I don't even know how to sign them up. All these things can get in the way. Take 1,000 juice drinkers, how could that not double on its own, purely just based on, because we talk about, right, network marketing is just purely just recommending something you enjoy to others based on, like, recommending a movie or a book or a good restaurant. Well, if that's the case, then why? Things are driven by people with an intention of the business. I'm totally fine with that. But here's the thing why, with a product this good, why isn't it just everybody who drinks it got a few family, friends, and people they desperately care about the most? Because they don't know, right? They don't have a clue. And guess what? Drinkers don't coach other drinkers. And sometimes drinkers sign up a few drinkers, but then they're left hanging without a clue. And so you uncovered a guy that has a passion for the juice had no clue there was a business worth thinking about here, just like I didn't for the first year. And then you take it to the other extreme, Steve, is we have a product that touches people's lives, but think about the two issues that everyone if you take their top 10 problems and put them on the table, better finances and better health could impact most of the top 10 problems of everyone love, and care about. So we have the product side that's easy. The business side is also easy. People are in trouble. America's in rough shape. There's more bankruptcies than college graduations for 3 years going. There's like 77,000 bankruptcies in February of 2008 alone. Foreclosures everywhere. Everyone's freaking out. Job instability, all this kind of thing. And then you're down there just doing what you ought to do as a leader, and you connect with this girl who you awaken something in her that she didn't even know she had her hands on.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's a weight to what we do. From the what if side of the equation we often think about is what if we do it? What if we get serious? What if we build it? What if we really go for it? What'll happen then? But the other side of the equation is what if we don't? Who are the people that would have been impacted by our product?
That's right.
Who are the people that would have been impacted by our business that now will never will because we didn't suck it up and do our share?
Sure.
Eric, it was an awakening not only for the people that we talked to, but it was a huge awakening for us as well. And we found a couple things. We found new business builders who were previously only drinkers. We brought back people who were non-active to start drinking the juice for the health benefits again. And we uncovered more builders and more new drinkers in the last, 3, 4, 5 weeks, actually more builders than we did in the prior 6 months. And it was all due, I have to say it's all due to the process that we just went through in reconnecting with all the people.
Absolutely. And just to clarify that, the majority of the people out there are drinkers. So we don't want to, lead people on to think that all of a sudden we turned everybody into builders. And, because drinkers are great. That's what you need for your volume. And we also found people that said no. And that was fine too, because that was what the program was built for. We needed to know who was definitely out so that we didn't spend our time on that. So, it just did so many different things. We found out that there's very few leaders out there, and there's very few builders. So it kind of keeps going up the ladder. You got mostly the drinkers, but we sorted everybody out. Now we have everyone categorized. We know how to go after them, and it's just it's just clarified so much stuff, and it increased communications with everybody, and we're sharing the energy level. So it's I don't know how to describe it, but it was way beyond what we were even hoping for. So and everyone's always looking for leaders, and I think that both Steve and I are starting to posture ourselves in that, and we're finding people coming to us now. They want to get on board. I think they just needed somebody out there to lend them a helping hand and help them with their business. And we're more than happy to do that. And we haven't shut the door on those that have said no. It's just that we are not spending energy on those people until they come forward,
and one of the big things that I remember shortly after this all took place, I remember talking to you, Eric, and saying, this is so cool. This is a new beginning, a fresh start. We've got the same excitement level, if not higher, than when we first started in Zango. But the coolest thing about it is it's like starting a business anew, fresh in Zango. But now we've got over $20,000 of volume, and we're 5Ks, and we've got a group below us. Mm-hmm. So it's so exciting. It's so exciting right now.
Well, I can tell you from the feel from my end is, and I told you guys this already, is that you guys are now doing things, and you are coming at it from an angle where it's inevitable now what's going to happen, because and the change has been you. People didn't change. The juice didn't change. The juice still comes with styrofoam that's hard to get rid of. That stuff didn't change. What changed is you, and now everything changed because you changed. So
it's pretty exciting.
One of the things that you guys, I really want to point out is important, is that you guys created accountability with each other, and that you keep each other on track. And I think one of the things with accountability is, being accountable helps you focus, and we're more likely to take action sometimes so someone else's expectations of us aren't let down than for our own expectations of ourselves. We live in a culture where everyone jumps through all kinds of hoops for what other people think of them.
Sure.
Why not? Let's just use that to our own advantage. If that's kind of built into us, let's use that. And make it work for us.
Yeah, we kind of equated it to like a workout partner. If you're going to the gym solo all the time, it's pretty easy to say some morning I just don't feel like going in. But if John's over at the gym waiting for you to show up, you're more apt to go in.
So one of the things you guys mentioned was your increased confidence and belief in where this is going, because now you feel in your gut that you're treating this like a business. And I think that's where a lot of people's self-confidence goes down, is they know they're not really doing the things that are going to get it done. And sometimes they're not quite sure what to do, and they won't ask someone. Ego gets in the way, and they won't ask, hey, what am I not doing here? This isn't working. And so when you do that, and you're not doing the right things, and you're not sure what the right things are, then everything kind of grinds to a halt, and the brakes get put on, and that's when people fall out of the sky. In spite of how good Zango is, and the sad truth is, if you can't succeed in Zango, you might have trouble finding an easier vehicle. The problem's probably going to go with you when you leave.
Right.
And so anyway, I'll let you guys kind of wrap up on this.
One of the messages too that we took out of this and realize now is that leaders and builders, that's a learned skill. You're not born with it. And yes, you may find leaders and builders that are out there, but I guarantee you that they learned that skill prior to coming to Zango. So don't be afraid to step outside of your box and try some new things, because pretty soon where you stepped outside of your box, you're actually going to be back in your box, but your box just got bigger.
That's right. You get, and I'll take just the phone blitz for example. I wasn't one that enjoyed picking the phone up, but I tell you, after you do 60, 70 calls, you no longer fear the phone, and I think just that alone was a huge exercise in where we're going in the future here.
But I tell you what, I recommend to everybody to give this a chance and a try. It is going to be one of the most enlightening experiences that you've ever undertaken.
Awesome. Hey, you guys, appreciate you guys. You guys are great, and great friends and great business partners, and you certainly showed everyone else why today on the phone. So thanks for sharing your heart, and feel free to chime in here. I got a couple quick things I'll wrap up with, but good job, you guys. You guys are you created a system that now my job is to go teach it to the rest of my group who hasn't done this themselves yet, and hopefully this will be archived so they can just watch this and learn like we all did. So, but thanks, you guys. You guys are great.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, sir.
Well, one of the things that comes with this business is some truths about life, and really it all comes down to leadership. At some point, Tom mentioned, I think it was, people are looking for a leader. Most people really pretty much are going to follow strong leadership. There's a reason why some of the very strong leaders in network marketing are with Zango is they're following the lead of our very strong leaders and our founders of our company. Very clear. They know what they're doing. They know where they're going, and it's just a matter of who's going with them. But you need to create that for yourself. You will be the lid of your own organization. You typically will not attract people at a higher level than you, so we need to grow as people. And part of that is just choosing to go first. Don't wait. You might not have an upline that's going to help you do what we were talking about today or anything else. Doesn't matter. That's the definition of a leader is someone, obviously you're out there first and lead your group by example. If you want to attract good people, become a good person. You attract who you are, and you have a choice in the matter of you can change who you are and how you go about this business. And I think that's just the good news and the bad news of what we do sometimes. So a couple quick things just as ideas to kind of rest in your mind and in your heart about what we do and kind of the truth behind the curtain, so to speak, is one of the things that I think requires is a requirement for success in this thing at the level at which most people are on this call are looking for is you need to the best thing you can do is create a level of certainty. Settle it in your heart that this is going to happen. You don't have to know how necessarily. You don't have to know with who, and you don't necessarily have to know exactly when. Early on, all you need to do is settle it that it is. One way or another, it's going to happen, and the rest of those questions will come, and the answers will be there. I want to, like one of my phrases, actually, I have about 4 or 5 original ideas in all of Zango, and one of them was I came up with this idea or this phrase. I said, you want to have an aroma of inevitability about you. You want people to feel it. If 60 to 80% of communication is nonverbal, then what is it? It's coming out of you. It's something that's in you that comes out, right? And so if that's the case, the internal work, and Art does a lot of great training on this. There's some great archive stuff. But the internal work you're going to do is far more important than the external work. Having the right words to say when you get on the phone on the win-back program is not really the point as much as it is having the right heart inside you when you call these people, because that's what they'll hear, that's what they'll feel, and that's what they'll respond to far more than having the right little phrase or words or that kind of thing. Another thing you want to think about is your posture. We're sorting, we're not convincing. There's 4 aces in a deck. The game is to get through the deck. Whoever gets through the deck the fastest wins, because once you get through the first deck, guess what? You get another deck. But if you sit there and try to sweet talk the Jack of Clubs into being an ace, the aces are still in there. And when they're an ace, they're ready. And if they're ready, whether or not you get in front of them with what you have for them to put their hand to the plow with, they'll go do something else, right? Because when they're ready, they're ready. And let in versus got in. You want people to feel that you're letting them in on something really good and not getting them in on something good. And you want to use those words, right? Use those phrases and settle it inside of you. When you're going to make follow-up calls with people you may never have talked to, and they may be ordering your juice for a year, if they feel from you that you're just serving them and you're calling for their sake, not for yours, and you're letting them in on something they might not have known about, that feels good to you, and therefore it will feel good to them. If you're calling for selfish intentions or what can you get out of it, they smell it. It's like a dog smelling fear. So getting all this stuff right pays big rewards. I mentioned how we're at the point where we're about ready to go on our 200K trip. When you hit Premier, you get a trip to somewhere called the Mangosteen Resort and Spa. Just to put that out there, we're coming into a time of year where people start to think about the beach a little bit. And I've never been there yet. Going halfway around the world with 5 small children hasn't been a good scenario yet, but at some point in the near future, we're going to take that trip and see what that's like to be there. However, I wanted to share with you guys a little something about going places. And I guess in this business, like we mentioned, a lot of it is personal development, who you become along the way. And there's a lot of great people that have gone before us that have created a path for us on that and written lots of great books and things that we can just live vicariously through them and learn from their mistakes and speed up our learning curve in a lot of ways. And as you look around the circles of success, one of the things that you'll see is there's some very consistent books and very consistent sources of wisdom from the ages that people have used. Number one, obviously, is the Bible. And hey, even if you don't want to read the Bible for religious reasons, you might want to read it just for success reasons alone. There probably aren't any ideas you could come up with or principles that work in business or success in life that aren't originating in the Bible. So whether you even want to look at it from a religious standpoint or not, you might want to read it anyway. I see what it says. But another one of the greats that's out there that a lot of people have put their hands on over time and really gotten some wisdom from is one of the great authors of all time, Dr. Seuss, and happens to be one of my favorites with 5 young children of a source of wisdom through the ages. And I want to read to you, if you'll allow me, a book that he wrote called "All the Places You'll Go," and this is pretty quick. And just kind of think through this. Think of trying to be a little cute there with Dr. Seuss, but really seriously listen to the wisdom in this, and think of the things we discussed in the call today, and think of, is it worth it to pay the price? Is it worth it to go through what we need to go through and learn what we need to learn? Because here's the thing, is everything you do in life is, there's a price to pay anyway, right? And everything requires hard work, and there's frustrations and everything, and there's ups and downs, and there's aggravating people, and there's moments of just pure bliss. That comes with anything in life. The difference here is, in this business, there's a light at the end of the tunnel that you're not going to find in many other things that you're going to choose to work at. And so, let me just get into this here. If you've never read the book, you probably want to put it on your shelf as one of the all-time greats in literature that you want to have. Especially in my house, it certainly has a special place. But here we go. Congratulations, today is your day. You're off to great places. You're off and away. You have brains in your head and feet in your shoes. You can steer yourself any direction you choose. You're on your own. And you know what you know. And you are the guy who will decide where to go. You'll look up and down streets, look them over with care, and some you will say, I don't choose to go there. With your head full of brains and your shoes full of feet, you're too smart to go down any not-so-good street. And you may not find any you'll want to go down. In that case, you'll head straight out of town. It's opener there in the wide open air. Out there, things can happen and frequently do to people as brainy and footsy as you. And when things start to happen, don't worry, don't stew, just go right along. You'll start happening too. All the places you'll go. You'll be on your way up. You'll be seeing great sights. You'll join the high flyers who soar to great heights. You won't lag behind because you'll have the speed. You'll pass the whole gang and you'll take the lead. Wherever you fly, you'll be the best of the best. Wherever you go, you'll top all the rest. Except when you don't, because sometimes you won't. I'm sorry to say, so sad but true, that bang-ups and hang-ups can happen to you. You'll get all hung up in a prickly perch, and your gang will fly on, and you'll be left in a lurch. You'll come down from the lurch with an unpleasant bump, and chances are then you'll be in a slump. And when you're in a slump, you're not in for much fun. Unslumping yourself is not easily done. You'll come to a place where the streets are not marked. Some windows are lighted, but mostly they're dark. A place you could sprain both your elbow and chin. How dare you? Do you dare stay out? Do you dare go in? How much can you lose? How much can you win? And if you go in, should you turn left or right, or right and 3/4, or maybe not quite? Or go around back and sneak in from behind? Simple it's not, I'm afraid you'll find, for a mind maker upper to make up his mind. You can get so confused that you'll start into race down long wiggled roads at a breakneck pace and grind on for miles about weirdest wild space, headed, I fear, for a most useless place, the waiting place. For people just waiting. Waiting for a train to go, or a bus to come, or a plane to go, or the mail to come, or the rain to go, or the phone to ring, or the snow to snow, or waiting around for a yes or no, or waiting for the hair to grow. Everyone's just waiting. Waiting for the fish to bite, or waiting for wind to fly a kite, or waiting around for Friday night, or perhaps for their Uncle Jake, or pot to boil, or better break, or spring of pearls, or a pair of pants, or a wig with curls, or another chance. Everyone's just waiting. No, that's not for you. Somehow you'll escape all that waiting and staying. You'll find the bright places where the boom bands are playing. With banners flip-flapping once more you'll ride high, ready for anything under the sky. Ready because you're that kind of guy. All the places you'll go, there's fun to be done. There's points to be scored. There's games to be won. And the magical things you can do with the ball will make you the winningest winner of all. Fame. You'll be famous as famous can be in the whole wide world watching you win on TV. Well, except when they don't, because sometimes they won't. I'm afraid that sometimes you'll play lonely games too. Games you can't win because you'll play against you. All alone. Whether you like it or not, alone will be something you'll be quite a lot. And when you're alone, there's a very good chance you'll meet things that scare you right out of your pants. There are some down the road between hither and yon that can scare you so much you won't want to go on. But on you will go through the weather be foul, and on you will go though your enemies prowl. And on you will go through the hack and cracks howl, upward of many a frightening creek, though your arms may get sore and your sneakers may leak. And on you will hike, and I know you'll hike far, and face up to your problems wherever they are. You'll get mixed up, of course, as you already know. You'll get mixed up with many strange birds as you go. To be sure, when you step with great care and great tact, and remember that life's a great balancing act. Just never forget to be dexterous and deft, and never mix up your right foot with your left. And you will succeed. Yes, you will indeed. 98.75% guaranteed. Kid, you'll move mountains. So be your name Buxbaum, Bixby, or Bray, or Mordecai, Alley, Van Allen, O'Shea. You're off to great places. Today is your day. Your mountain is waiting. So get on your way. So as they say in Zango, and our great founders are assuring us that we can follow in their trail, it's safe to dream again. Thanks for joining us today, and we'll see you guys in Orlando.